Hi, this is LJ Haydorn. Um, I'm going to cover how to create a Pathfinder Society character, and I'm going to do this in several steps and make several videos through each section. So, first off, Pathfinder Society is based off the Pathfinder game, which you can see this is the Pathfinder Core Rulebook. There are two versions of this game. There is the core only, which is strictly based off the core rulebook, and there is non-core, which is based upon all of the books with restrictions. But regardless, they all rely on the core rulebook. And with the Pathfinder Society, it ends up creating a character that can be played anywhere across the country in any sort of sanctioned Pathfinder Society game. So, but let's go with taking a look at a typical character sheet. Now, this is a character sheet, Pathfinder character sheet. Pathfinder is based off of Dungeons and Dragons by Wizards of the Coast, version 3.5. It's an open gaming license version. And currently, D&D is up to version 5. Version 4 was a complete flop. Version 5, though, appears to kind of go with version much like the old 2nd edition Dungeons & Dragons. But Pathfinder is a very popular game, and I just wanted to show you the sheet a little bit. There is a section covering stats and various other things such as hit points and movement, such as speed and skills. There's a bunch of other things such as saving throws as well. But let's go ahead and go into the very first section of this. And we're going to cover how to get started. With the getting started, let's see. The first section we have is ability scores. Now, ability scores, there are 6 different ability scores, and each one of these has special properties that applies to your character. Now, we could cover these real quick, and I wouldn't worry about doing anything with ability scores at this moment. But let's cover the abilities. The first ability we have is strength. Now, strength is based upon the physical power of your character. The physical power is how strong you are, what you can. If you're in combat, it affects how you hit, how much damage you do. It also affects how much you can carry, how much you can lift, how much you can pull. The scores can greatly range. In normal games, it could be anywhere from normally, say, 3 all the way up to 20 or more. Now, with Pathfinder Society, though, your scores will tend to only be starting anywhere between 5 and 20. The higher a score is, the better your ability is at that. So, a person with say a 5 strength would be extremely weak and have a hard time lifting things and hurting things if he's trying to attack. Where a character with a 20 strength would be just muscle bound. I mean, think of Conan the Barbarian. Any of the characters you've seen in movies where the big muscle guy comes out and swings a sword or punches somebody, and they're just rippled with muscles. That would be something like a 20. So, and scores can get higher than that, but we won't worry about that right now. So, the next score we have is Dexterity. Now, with Dexterity, it is how flexible, how quick, nimble a character is. Think of things such as an acrobat, anything like someone from Cirque du Soleil, or maybe even think of things like Robin Hood, how they fire a bow and they manage to hit the bullseye, or even hit the arrow in the bullseye. These are things that apply with dexterity. So now, dexterity also applies to how hard it is to hit you. Now, if you're a quick-moving, nimble target, it's going to be harder to hit you than if you were very slow. So again, the higher the score, the better. The next stat we're looking at is called Constitution. Constitution. With Constitution, it's a measure of how healthy you are, how tough you are. With Constitution, it affects things such as saving throws, in particular the Fortitude saving throw. The hardier your guy is, the better your Fortitude save. And Fortitude saves are things that are made for resisting poisons or disease. Really, it's how easily are you to get sick. The higher the Constitution score, the less likely you are to get sick. The lower the Constitution score, the easier it is for you to get sick. Our next stat is intelligence. Now, intelligence is how smart or not so smart your character is. Now, there are certain classes that base their stats off of different skills. One of, say, which is the wizard, which would have to have a higher the intelligence, the better. But with intelligence, you're looking at like your IQ level, and I guess maybe sometimes the easiest thing to take a look at is say, okay, take the IQ and multiply it times 10, and that's what the IQ is probably of your character. But it also affects things such as skills. Now, skills we'll talk about later in this process, and skills are like the things that you know how to do, such as climbing or acrobatics or reading books, knowing different languages, crafting things, appraising things, bluffing, things like that. But we'll get into those later. So now the next stat we're going to talk about is wisdom. Now, wisdom is common sense, your willpower, how aware of things you could be, of the situations around you could be. It also affects what's a saving throw called will save. And will save is based on attacks of the mind. So if someone who was trying to get control of your character and force you to do something you didn't want to do by casting a spell on you, you would usually have to make a will save. Now, again, this particular score applies to different classes as well, and we'll get into this classes in a little bit. So, the next thing we have is charisma. Now, charisma is the personality of your character, how abrasive you may be, how easy you are to get along with, perhaps. The lower the score, the harder it is for you to work with people and to talk with people. The higher the score, the easier it is for you to communicate with people. And this communication affects things such as you want to talk to somebody and say, hey, look, we really don't want to fight, because we're here on a mission and we're here to save you. Now, with a low charisma score, you may be telling that person something, and they're looking at you going, I don't believe you. There's just no way I would believe you. Look, you look like you're going to tear our village down and burn it to the ground. But with a high charisma score, you could look very friendly if you wish, and they could believe you. Now, this can also be used and the reverse of that, where you could say, you know what, I am a heinous barbarian of some sort, or feared fighter, and you may want to tell people, look, I want you to do this or else. You know, if you do not surrender to us, we will be forced to take you prisoner, or worse. So the higher the charisma score, the more likely they are to believe that. Now, a low charisma score, trying this particular scenario we just discussed, would end up them again not believing you. Well, look, you know, you're goodness, you're having a hard time even wearing the equipment you have on, or you know, you keep laughing as you keep trying to tell us to surrender, and you know, you and what army? So, but that is the ability scores. So let's stop with there, and I'll continue on with another section in a second.